Hi. I know that I promised before that I was gonna use my real setup, which is down in the basement. And honestly, I've moved some of my stuff upstairs in the last few days because I'm trying to get things to work a little bit better. There's temperature fluctuations down there that aren't really helping. Uh, Obviously, not my recording setup because this looks like trash. Um, it does. I'm kind of finding it good because I really just need to get this through and get this out tonight. Um, I am wearing a My Hero Academia hat. Um, my reason for doing that in this particular video is that I am willing to entertain ideas and scenarios and characters that I find hopeful and uplifting. That doesn't mean I think they're real. I think that a lot of holy books and a lot of other books, anime and movies and music, all kinds of things, have meaning and can be helpful in those ways. That doesn't mean any of them are real. Um, and I've always tried to see myself, even back when I was a theist, I tried to see myself as someone who would be willing to change their mind about just about anything, so long as someone were to present a good argument, a logical, reasoned argument, or some sort of evidence that I could accept as being true. Um, and that's a lot because for me to believe something, I really have to believe it. Like, I don't think anybody can just be like, oh, well, I mean, I believe this, but, I don't really know why. It's just kind of I know, I just know. Um, I know people say that, but people don't just believe things because they believe things. There's always a reason, even if they don't understand what that is themselves, or um, even if they don't want to confront why they believe the thing they believe. Um, but here, very recently, I kind of stumbled across something while I was having a conversation with a friend who is a theist. Um, I was starting to just see all the arguments as bad arguments because I've heard so many of them time after time, over and over again, these same bad arguments for positions that uh, contradict a lot of the positions I hold. And I kind of got to a numb point at some point here that I didn't realize had happened until I kind of stumbled upon it last night, um, where I was starting to assume that arguments would be bad, and so I wasn't giving them their due. Um, I am 100% dedicated to changing that. I am rededicating myself to having an open mind about whatever. Um, And also, to be honest, I was starting to get to a point where I just thought, you know what? I mean, the majority of people are just going to believe whatever it is they were taught to believe as a kid, unless something drastic happens to that individual. And so I was kind of getting disheartened and thinking, like, well, I mean, there's nothing left to do, you know. And you're only going to convince the people you're going to convince, and there's always going to be a whole bunch of people that you can't. Um, but I think I heard today on the Atheist Experience, I think it was the second caller on tonight's show. This this woman called in and immediately um, started basically, it was, Matt, you're a jerk, and I know what I believe, and I know it's true, and Jesus did this for me. Um, but as Jenna talked to her, and then later, as Matt started to wade back in a little bit, um, this woman says, like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and maybe I need to reevaluate some of the things I'm thinking about and some of the things I believe. This was not a hardcore uh, fundamentalist Christian directly into hard atheism type situation at all. But it was this woman being willing to listen and being willing to entertain the ideas being put forth by the hosts of the show. Even if it had been the other way around and I was watching an evangelical preacher speak on the phone with an atheist and turn them around and get them to start believing, well, maybe I should look again at Christianity. Maybe I should give God another shot. It wouldn't have mattered either direction. I heard someone call into a show to talk to people that they knew held an opposing belief and started out being rather belligerent, to be honest. And then pause, allow those people to speak and talk to them, have a brief but fruitful conversation, and come out the other end being at least willing to entertain the idea that the other people, the other side of this equation, might be right and that they needed to think about it and that they were making good points. I just want to get back to being that person, whether, no matter what that means. I want to be back to being that person that's perfectly willing to lay out their beliefs, and if someone has a good argument against them, or can ask me some questions that lead me down a path where I'm willing to start questioning the things I believe in, or start questioning whether maybe I should start believing in something else. And I found that just incredibly hopeful and incredibly positive. So I needed to get that out there. Also, there's something that's been weighing on me, and I've heard atheists use this tactic. I've heard theists use this tactic. I've heard people that think Minecraft is good use this tactic, and the people who hate Minecraft use this tactic. I mean, I'm jumping from something that's actually important to something completely trivial, just to kind of make an example. Um, but the point is that I hear this kind of argument used a lot. I hear uh, this tactic used a lot, where someone will say something to the person who's kind of got control of the conversation. So typically it's someone calling into a call-in show, saying something to the host. Sometimes it goes the other way around, but not often, because the person with the power to end the conversation is usually the one who uses this tactic. Um, the person calling in will say something, and the host will make some overly pedantic response. Like they'll ask, "What do you mean by that?" When it's pretty obvious that everyone understands what the person making the call means. And typically, that's either a setup for a uh, pre-arranged and already established gotcha moment, or it's to try to expose some potential flaw in their argument. Now, if the question is being asked to get them to think about why it is that they believe that this argument is good and correct, and that they're reaching a good um, understanding by thinking this way, and they're trying to expose that as like, look, you think about it though, this what you're saying doesn't actually seem to track. That's fine. But far too often I see people of all stripes, no matter what, if they're trying to convince people of something, they will use this really dishonest tactic, just asking questions that they know the answer that's coming, and they're just doing it to either make the person look foolish or to set them up so they can knock them down. Nobody should be doing that. Especially for me, people who share my opinion and are open about sharing my opinion. Because if you share my opinion and you make that known that you share my opinion, and then you behave this way uh, in a forum where so many people can see you, uh, that creates two problems for me and everyone else who shares your opinion for that matter. One, you either, I mean, you look like a dick because you are trying to set somebody up for a takedown verbally, and it just comes off looking like you're being dishonest, like you're trying to push them into a corner so that you can just knock them down and take them out and not have to worry about anything else they have to say. Um, Whether that's what you mean or not, I do it myself sometimes, and I I get upset with myself when I catch myself doing stuff like this. Um, the other, the other reason is that, especially within atheist circles, a lot of the people who are like newly minted, just deconverted within the last year atheists tend to be the quote unquote angry atheists um, that don't represent us very well either. And the problem there is that when you have a new atheist who has just recently deconverted and is really mad and doesn't really understand a lot of the nuance and specifics of like various positions that are often held by atheists. Because, of course, atheism is not a worldview, but um, in my experience, these days at least, quite a few of the atheists that I've had conversations with or that I've watched or whatever are also humanists. And therefore, we should care about well-being, well-being of humans, well-being of thinking creatures, regardless of what extent you want to provide that net over. Um, but when they're new and they hear these gotcha moments, they hear these zingers, these set them up and knock them down type scenarios that people just, as human beings, seem to be prone to, it seems really good. Like, oh man, they really got him. And then they go around and talk to all their theist family and friends or former friends or whatever the case may be. And they use these, and it harms everyone else who is honestly trying to get people to think because their first impression, it might be that one of these newly deconverted atheists is the first atheist they've ever actually spoken to. And they see them use this set 'em up, knock 'em down kind of tactics. They see I'm going to try to trap you into saying something that I have a like predetermined gotcha statement for. And it doesn't do anyone any good. It doesn't convince that theist that they're wrong. It doesn't make them any more likely to become an atheist. It doesn't make the person making those statements look very good, and it doesn't make atheism as a whole look very friendly, very honest, or very good. We really need to work just as human beings on not using these tactics anymore. But right now, I'm specifically speaking to any other atheist out there that can hear this, that's watching this, which I don't know why you would, because the production value sucks. But uh, yeah, let's not use that tactic anymore. Let's just be mindful of ourselves and choose to do better. Because honestly, in my mind, um, if you're an atheist and you're not a humanist, that's fine, but you're not me. You don't represent me. You don't represent, from what I've seen and heard, the majority of atheists these days. But if you are a humanist, it is in the best interest of humanity and of thinking creatures in general for us to be our best and to do our best. And that tactic does the exact opposite. Good night and good luck.